Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a video on Jagex's recent changes to PvP, at least a blog about what they're planning on doing. Love to go through it with you guys and see what it's all about and kind of interject with my opinions here and there. I used to be a PKer back in the day for like 4 to 5 years, really enjoyed it whenever I was in my youth. I mean, I'm still kind of young now, but whatever. But essentially, I was someone that really, truly enjoyed PKing, and then it just eventually became something that Jagex kind of neglected, didn't put any time or effort into. It was a worse game than staking in terms of losing expected value. And after letting people PK for 5 to 10 years, essentially the only people that are left are the insane sweats. And other than that, it's just clans and there's no solo PKers. I mean, rarely do you run into that. The wilderness is far from what it used to be for me in terms of enjoyment and people out there having a good time, just engaging in, even like smaller risk fights. I mean, there's nothing better than a nice rune, 200, 500k fight, something like that. Just, having a little bit of fun. But you don't see that anymore. That's basically gone out the window because PKing is dead. And depending on where you stand, you can either think, well, PKing's dead because no one likes to PK, or you could think that PKing's dead because, well, they don't get enough updates and you lose probably 10 to 20% of the cash that you're spending on a fight, which makes no sense. There's no other aspect of the game where you lose 10 to 20% of what you're spending on a fight or on whatever you're doing. So personally, I stand on the side that I don't think Jagex incentivizes it enough. I mean, openly hand out 2 to 3 mil per hour to anyone that wants to go kill some Vorkath or some Zulcano, but they won't allow people that are PKing to make, a spare 4 to 500k an hour, maybe even just enough expected value back from their fight to pay for their supplies. They don't even do that. So that's where my problem is with it. I know that people sometimes now kind of see PKing as a great way to tax the game, and that's one of the worst things you could ever do, because essentially you're just killing that segment of the game at the expense of, well, we're getting some gold out of the game. There are plenty of ways to get gold out of the game without totally ruining one aspect of it, i.e. having real graves that actually you would lose items or stuff in. I know now you pay a small percent of your value if you don't, whatever, but it's not anywhere near what it used to be. PVM has essentially no risk and tons of reward, and PKing has tons of risk with no reward at all. So personally, this means a lot to me, and I'm excited to see what Jagex has to say about their outlook going forward. First things first, when I go over to this blog, Jagex is talking about how they have polled 30,000 people, and in this recent survey, they're kind of getting feedback to see where they should go about changing the wilderness and what avenues they should approach it in. And personally, that seems cool. However, you can just tell from the very beginning that this is going to be something that is just aimed towards noobs, and that is not what I like to see at all. That's kind of the polar opposite. Now, will I like some of the things they have to offer? Sure. But I'm not liking the direction already. It doesn't seem to be PKer focused. It seems to be player friendly focused for the people that don't even care to PK, which is just, oh my goodness, already irking me. But you can see at the very beginning, essentially 60% of people are saying that they don't go into the wilderness that often, and that's fine. I mean, 60% of people probably shouldn't be in the wilderness that often. I mean, I wouldn't want everyone out in the wilderness all the time. That wouldn't make any sense. 50% of the people essentially are out there doing clue scrolls. I've never really considered, like, whenever you see someone in the wilderness, there's a percent chance of whatever they're doing, but 50% clue scroll? I just would never guess. I guess that's what everyone's doing. Here it says 69% of people disagree that the wilderness offers a good balance between risk and reward. And as I mentioned earlier, I guess I would disagree here too, in the sense of like a PKer fighting a PKer, there's not enough risk in reward. There's not enough reward, I guess. There's enough risk. But I think this is mostly people saying there's not enough GP to be farmed out of the wilderness for me to want to go out there, which is crazy, because I mean, revs have been nerfed, but that used to be just an endless GP printer. And Venenatus, still really good. Callisto, still really good. Like, I don't know. There's still a lot of good wilderness methods to make some money. I don't really see that, but okay. I don't even know what this question even means. I try to avoid spending time in the wilderness where possible. Of course, like if I was in the wilderness and I saw a clan at me, that would be a time where I would be trying to avoid the wilderness where possible, because it's possible and I would like to avoid it there. I mean, I'm guessing this is like the average person, like would you do a Slayer task in the wilderness? That's kind of the question you're asking. Like, I mean, they're probably not going to go out there, but I don't know, that doesn't seem great. Again, it's like, why are we catering to people that are too scared to even enter? So this one, I would spend more time within the wilderness if fights were fairer for solo players, and 75% of people agreed and 25% disagreed. Now I think Jagex sees this as a way to be like, okay, so if we make other people less powerful, the average player would be more inclined to fight back. And personally, as someone that's PK'd before and knows what I'm doing, like, yeah, I would be more inclined, so I would agree there. But we saw earlier that 50 to 60% of people said they don't even like going in the wilderness. So essentially, most of the people that are agreeing here are people that aren't even going to fight back, no matter how much you nerf the good people. So I don't think that this answer's getting what you want out of it, and I think it might kind of put you down the wrong path. The fact that this is even a question, when adding new content to the wilderness, the focus should be on endgame, best-in-slot rewards. And the idea that 40% of people agreed is mind-boggling. Like, how? How? What? Why? People have already said for so long that there's too much in the wilderness, and they don't like being forced out in the wilderness if they don't even want to be there in the first place. So why would you put endgame content out there? I don't know. That is crazy to me, especially in the world of hardcore Iron Man. I mean, personally, I'm a hardcore Iron Man, so low bias, but I've also said that the game should never be changed based on Iron Man preferences, so I will fully admit that I'm being hypocritical. I also don't make the rules, so it doesn't matter. Luckily, most people came to their senses. 83% of people think it should be PvP-based rewards, and I agree. Now, the problem is, PvP-based rewards, Jagex, I'm thinking, is probably just thinking of the old Stadius Vesta, those type of items, which, it's just, no, please no. I already voted no to them once. I don't want to do it again, even though I do want PvP-based rewards. I just don't want them to recycle the ones they've already used before. So I'm a bit disappointed in terms of their polling, just because I don't think it gets a whole lot done, but I actually do like some of what they're going to implement from there based off of this. So for skull tricking, essentially they're saying that they are going to add an option in-game that will be able to be clicked on, and whenever you click that option, you won't attack people, or you won't have the option to attack people that would make you scald. So that is just a great way of going about that. Skull tricking's been a problem for far too long, and to finally have some sort of solution to it is great. Now you might say you can turn off the attack options in game, and that would be true, but they're trying to basically allow people to be more interactive in fighting back, because even personally, I turn off my attack option, I don't even fight back. Now, maybe if they make singles more common and I'm not fighting as many clans and I don't have this risk of accidentally sculling, maybe I'll attack back more, and that is kind of nice. Oh my. So they're also going to be replacing all single-way combat areas in Wilderness with Singles Plus, and this means that PvP will always take priority, and that is terrifying as someone that, likes to get away from PKers, and then I'll, at some point, go into, I guess, a dragon area, and I'll get a dragon on me, and then I can log out because the dragon's killing me, and I can log out by the time that we get done with the fight with the dragon. Given this, I won't be able to do any of that anymore, and I'm going to actually maybe have to die, which isn't exciting. I think there's a little give and take there, but they also mentioned that they'll be extending the PJ timer, so essentially, you're giving up the ability to escape PKers as easily, but you're also gaining the ability to not be piled on by clans. So, I'll take it for what it is. I'll accept that. That's nice. Oh man, okay, so they're also offering loot keys, which is great. Essentially just putting the person's entire death pile into a key that you can later open at a bank or wherever. You can pile 5 of these at a time, and that is really, really nice. I don't even really PK, but if I did, it's something I would want a lot because you'll be making more money off of it. Less stuff will be going out of the game, which is good for these people. So I really think that these are a great idea. Allows PKers to get some more money. You will still be risking them whenever you have them on your person, so it's not like they're going out of your inventory or you're saving them in any way. So I'm a big fan of this. This narrowly didn't pass the vote last time, so I think that it's perfectly fine to add. The Din's Bulwark is getting a nice little rework, which is a huge deal because personally I'm a big Din's Bulwark stan. I've always felt like a nice defensive shield would be really fun in the game. It kind of got all of its use kind of nerfed away because it was too good in the defensive uses for PvP. Made me pretty sad, but they're bringing it back a little bit by lowering its attack speed from 7 to 5 and also upping its crush bonus, basically making it a somewhat decent two-handed weapon in the wilderness. Not anything notable, but something useful to fight back with, on top of having really good defense. So that's really cool. I'm glad that it can finally have its own little niche within the game. Jace has also lowered the ability of the Zerakin robes, which is also really cool. I mean, if they're going to nerf the ability of my Black D-Hide, I would hope that, these wilderness people can't just run around with cheap as can be gear. Like, at least throw on some mystics or something, have some respect. And they are giving a little boost to battle staffs and mystic staffs, which is pretty cool because those have always been more expensive, but no real point. Jagex is also deciding to lessen their nerf on Black D-Hide, which as someone that's typically the person getting PK'd, I'm happy to see. Although I think most everyone's going to be using D'hide at some point in the wilderness, even tribirds and whatnot. And then we kind of get into the last part of the blog, which is talking about the Rev Caves. Personally, I've been playing a hardcore Iron Man for a while, but it's not really something I've engaged in. I've seen that other people really don't actively participate in the Rev Caves as much anymore either, but I don't really know where the balance is. I mean, it's really hard to find that balance in old school RuneScape because typically people are so caught up in what's meta, what's not, that they're not going to go to something that isn't too useful, but they'll also ever want to pile into something that is overly useful. So I think that Revs used to be too OP, now probably not OP enough, but where's that line? You know, it's hard to tell. So here again, they have more polling questions that they got into. About 50% of people say that the Rev Caves offers a good balance of risk and reward. But you also see that 10% of people say that they actually even go there, so I don't really understand that. Again, I'm happy with the community if they don't want to make everything good, because at the end of the day, you can't, so I understand that. Here, it's a 50-50 vote of people even thinking that Rev Caves should provide more GP per hour, and I think that's fair. I mean, we've seen what Rev Caves is like with more GP per hour, and I mean, I abused it. I had a good time with it to get the GP, but it wasn't really fun. It wasn't really an interactive experience, but I mean, I don't know. I do like a little bit of a thrill every now and then with PKing, which I don't get in too many other ways. 70% of people say that Revenants should have unique mechanics making them more interesting to fight. I think that would definitely be helpful. I mean, essentially they're just like a punching bag that you just shoot your blowpipe darts at or whatever. I mean, it's not anything too crazy at this point. Oh man, this is interesting. So I think Revenants should have a chance of spawning a Revenant boss that players will race to defeat, providing multiple roles on the Revenant table. And 80% of people agree. Now, that would be interesting. I just feel like there would be some super sweats just sitting there ready to take everyone's Revenant boss, but I'm not sure. It sounds really enjoyable. It seems a lot like a superior encounter that you would see in Slayer, but then I wonder why you're allowing other people to have the chance to fight it. I mean, I know it kind of creates this whole like communal event in the wilderness suddenly, but I don't know if that would be the most enjoyable. Imagine being a low level that's just farmed his 5th boss, 10th boss, and can never kill it because everyone keeps taking it. I don't know. I think the Revenant Caves are a fun thing to talk about and enjoyable in theory, but we also have to remember that, I mean, PKing should be about person fighting person for fun, having a great time, not rebalancing the small thing in the wilderness that's partially died off. I don't know. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, but I guess, you know, focusing on something in the wilderness is better than nothing in theory. And then the final part of the blog is about the Wilderness Slayer Caves. Personally, I won't even be getting into this because I just don't think it matters that much. I mean, Wilderness Slayer Cave changes, like to revitalize the wilderness a little bit. I don't think it's gonna do a ton. Personally, I'm a bit disappointed to see this blog end off with 2 Slayer PVM based changes that they feel like could shake things up a lot. I don't think that changing up PVM in the wilderness is going to shake up the PKing fundamentals at all. I do agree with the first half of the blog where they were basically going through and changing certain things about PKing that makes it less friendly for a 1v1 scenario and offers just some more fairness to each person in the wilderness if they want to interact in combat or not. But the thing is, to get people to fight each other, it's not about evening the playing field between one noob and a PKer, because the playing field's already so uneven in the first place that it's going to be really hard to make that a thing. What you have to do is make PKing fundamentally more fun, more enjoyable, give reasons to go there, and give reasons for people to learn how to even PK or how to operate within the wilderness, because that's what I see so often, is people don't even know how to function in the wilderness. And that's what you have to do. You have to try to build up those fundamentals of the player, and then they will start to get into it. You can't just hope that one day that the gear is balanced enough and they're in the right scenario to the point where they might be able to fight back against PK, because it's not going to happen. So personally, I understand where Jags is coming from with this. I think that the first half of the blog was really well-intentioned and has some good fundamentals behind it. I think the second half is a little bit misguided. Sure, you can push people out into the wilderness if you give them a reason to be out there, like PVM and money and all these different things, but that's not how you make the wilderness more fun. It's not how you pump up PvP. You do that naturally by having people enjoy and have fun with the content at their disposal, what people currently do not with PKing, and this will not change it. little bit of overtime here for the video. Jagex did update their blog and offer some responses for some of the questions, so I wanted to go through a couple pieces that stood out to me very, very quickly. This first one, the way to solve all activity issues within the wilderness by adding new hotspots that offer lucrative reasons for players to go there. They're basically just lobbing themselves a softball question just to smash it out of the park. But what I mean, they did a really good job. They're indicating that that's not the best way to go about it, which is great. But the one thing here, with no new, okay, I can't highlight it, but with no new players or new PKers entering the wilderness, the food chain is broken. Well, I'm glad they at least see that, because that has been the case for a while. And the best way to combat that is by making an enticing, active, enjoyable kind of, system in which people will want to fight each other rather than taxing them and allowing nobody to make any money except for the really skilled. They do also offer a counterpoint right here that says the wilderness will never be active enough with the amount of worlds that players can select. Please limit the number of worlds where the wilderness is enabled. And they actually mentioned that they could do this as a result, but I think that that would just be terrible. The thing is, whenever you have these worlds, like a bounty hunter world or some sort of system in which people are filtered to one or two worlds, you can naturally do that. Every world can have a wilderness that's basically just, mostly people out there doing their thing and some PKers, and then some worlds will have tons of PKers. And that's how you do it naturally without just absolutely cutting off PvP and other wildernesses. It doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm actually a really big disbeliever in that. I don't like that at all. So that is going to be it as far as this video goes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and check out the links down below to plenty of other places you can check me out or my clan chat or people of the clan chat. It's a great time. Would love to hear your thoughts on the PKing changes in a comment down below. And if you want to see more content like this as soon as it goes live, make sure to subscribe. Well, with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day and peace.